Hello and welcome. This is the first episode in our video series on PFAS. Over the next weeks and months, we will look at this topic step by step. We will start with the basics, then move to the regulatory proposals that companies are watching very closely, especially in Europe, and also look at what businesses should consider when managing their risk landscape. So today is about one thing only: what PFAS are, why they matter, and why businesses across many sectors should pay attention. When people hear the term PFAS, many think first of few familiar examples. They think of non-stick cookware, water and stain-resistant textiles, and grease-resistant food packaging. They may also think of firefighting foams, especially in connection with airports, industrial sites, and contamination concerns involving soil and water. In public discussion, PFAS are often linked to reports of contamination at or near manufacturing locations, military areas, training grounds, and other industrial sites. But that is only part of the picture. PFAS are also relevant because they can deliver very useful technical performance. Depending on the substance and the application, fluorinated chemistry can contribute properties such as chemical resistance, heat resistance, surface performance, and in some cases molecular stability. That is why PFAS-related chemistry has been important in a range of industrial and professional uses. Examples often discussed include applications in medical products, certain pharmaceuticals, and some crop protection and pesticide-related chemistry, depending on the definition being used. PFAS can also be highly important in manufacturing facilities and equipment. In practice, fluorinated materials may be used in seals, gaskets, liners, hoses, valves, and process equipment because they can withstand aggressive chemicals, high temperature, and challenging operating environments. For many companies, this is one reason PFAS are not just an environmental topic. They are also a business continuity, product performance, and supply chain issue. PFAS are also at the center of a very active public debate. In recent years, NGOs, environmental organizations, consumer groups, parts of academia, regulators, and the media have all helped bring much greater attention to PFAS. Many public campaigns use the term forever chemicals and call for broad restrictions across the PFAS group. Those campaigns have been effective in raising awareness and in moving the issue higher up the political and regulatory agenda, especially in Europe. At the same time, from a legal and industry perspective, the picture is more complex. PFAS are not one single substance, and they are not all used in the same way or associated with the same properties and risks. For that reason, any serious discussion needs to look carefully at definitions, uses, exposure pathways, technical functions, and the availability of alternatives. So, what are PFAS? That sounds like a basic question, but legally and scientifically, it is not always straightforward. PFAS is a broad umbrella term used for a large group of fluorinated substances. One reason the topic becomes difficult very quickly is that there is no single definition that applies in every legal and regulatory context. Different institutions and legal instruments may define PFAS differently, and those differences can matter a great deal in practice. Historically, an earlier OECD exercise identified around 5,000 PFAS-related case numbers. In 2021, OECD published revised terminology intended to more comprehensively reflect the universe of PFAS. Under that terminology, PFAS are fluorinated substances that contain at least one fully fluorinated carbon atom. But OECD also made clear that this terminology was developed for communication and nomenclature purposes. and not as a universal regulatory definition. That distinction is important. In public discussion, people often speak about PFAS as if the group were fixed and universally agreed. In reality, the boundaries of the group may shift depending on the legal instrument, the regulator, or the policy objective. In other words, before asking what the law does with PFAS, it is often necessary first to ask what the particular law means by PFAS. And that matters because the PFAS universe is very diverse. Some substances are better studied than others. Some are associated with stronger concerns about persistence, mobility, bioaccumulation, or toxicity. Some are regulated because of specific hazard profiles. Others raise different technical and legal questions. That is one reason why PFAS policy is complex. The public conversation often treats the group as one block, while science, engineering, and regulation frequently require a more differentiated approach. You will also hear the term long chain and short chain PFAS. At a simple level, that distinction relates to the length of the fluorinated carbon chain. Historically, long-chain PFAS drew early regulatory attention because some well-known legacy substances raised particular concern in relation to persistence and bioaccumulation. Over time, manufacturers shifted towards shorter-chain alternatives in some applications. They often have a different profile. So, where does this leave us? At a very high level, PFAS are a large and diverse group of fluorinated substances. They are associated both with valuable technical functions and with serious environmental and regulatory concerns. The topic cannot be reduced to a slogan, and it should not be approached as if every substance, every use, every legal regime were identical. In Europe, the regulatory dynamic is moving quickly, and the most closely watched issue is a proposal to heavily restrict PFAS under REACH. ECHA has said that its scientific evaluation of that proposal is expected to continue through the end of 2026. That will be the subject of our next video. In the next episode, we will look specifically at the PFAS restriction proposal under REACH, where it came from, how broad it is, where the process stands, and what it could mean for companies operating in Europe or selling into the European market. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will join us again for the next episode in this series.